Now, Washington correspondent for Spectrum News, Kevin Frey. Kevin, good morning. Nice to see you. So this public support of Hegseth from Donald Trump, in many ways, I think the key piece for Hegseth here, because, of course, there was a question there for a little while. He seemed to be stepping back, letting Hegseth fight his fight. No longer. Now they're out there appearing in public. What do you think what Lindsey Graham said about this NDA means going forward for Hegseth?
Well, I mean, one, to touch on the Trump appearing with him at the Army-Navy game, we know how much Trump values television and camera time, and so that is illustrative in a pretty impactful way. When it comes to the confirmation fight, I mean, look, Lindsey Graham is suggesting in his comments as part of that interview that if there's more information that comes out, maybe then I'll have to reassess. But he seems to be now, despite a couple of weeks ago saying that these are concerning reports about Hegseth, seems to be on board, and it seems that after a very rocky road, Hegseth seems to be much more on the straight and narrow when it comes to getting to this confirmation. We shall see, of course. But there is this enhanced pressure campaign that seems to be growing on some of these more moderate Republicans, the Joni Ernst, the Tom Tillis of the world that are in cycle this election, or in 2026 rather, that they could face primary challenges if they're not sufficiently loyal to Trump and his nominee. So there are a lot of factors at play as Hegseth is seemingly getting closer to confirmation.
One of the things, too, that's kind of come up here, and you heard it in that Lindsey Graham interview on Meet the Press, is comparisons to Brett Kavanaugh. Yeah. And Graham was actually explicit in making that connection and saying, in particular, that anonymous allegations, they were not going to allow those to impact their decision. That was, what leads to these questions about letting this woman in question out of her confidentiality agreement. Just because they were willing to do that doesn't mean that she's going to come forward, especially after what happened to some of the women that came forward.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, to that point, she could come forward, but we remember what happened to Christine Blasey Ford. So it's not like this is an easy path for them to come forward and then all of a sudden the senators will all believe her. That's not necessarily a guarantee. Based on what we've seen from the Senate in just recent years.
Yeah. So, big picture, what are we expecting this week from Trump's nominees on Capitol Hill? Because it's going to be another week of full court press.
Right. So Hegseth assumingly will be back, but then we also see RFK Jr. starting to make the rounds, particularly with the Republicans this week. And one of the things that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, particularly, is where does Senator Mitch McConnell go in some of all of this? Because of what we just saw from the New York Times on Friday, I believe it was. Yeah. This reporting about the polio vaccine, that a lawyer that's been helping vet some of the potential members of RFK's team had been basically lobbying the federal government to no longer allow for the polio vaccine to be federally backed. McConnell put out a statement that was pretty blunt for him. Yeah. About the fact that they're raising questions about the validity of this vaccine.
Yeah, he said it wasn't just irresponsible, he used the word dangerous.
Correct. And, of course, he's a polio survivor. He still has a lot of clout, even if he's not going to be the majority leader or not going to be the top Republican within the Senate. So does he choose in this scenario to weigh in and perhaps bring some Republicans with him? That'll be one of the dynamics to watch.
Yeah. All right, Kevin Frey for us this morning, sir. Very grateful to have you. Thank you.